What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Says podcast. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams, and today is week 1 of the NFL season, the first week of Chiefs actual football of the year. And I am joined by two of my good friends here. We've got my usual co-host, Arrowhead Tom, on my left, your right. Tom, how are we doing today, sir?
Oh, I am so ready for this game. I'm so ready for football. I'm just so, and I'm excited that it's here. So, yeah, it's a good day.
It is a good day. It was a crazy day for sure, but it was a good day. And then also joining us, instead of the usual Kyle Henning, who unfortunately has overnight work duties to take care of. Shout out Kyle. We've got our guy Randy Elenberger, co-host of the Kingdom Recon podcast. Randy, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome. Excited to join the Kingdom Says for the first time tonight. I'm kind of pumped.
Excited to have you. Yeah, you picked a good one to join.
I am pumped and ready for NFL football. Thursday cannot come quick enough.
It cannot. Yeah, we're recording this on Tuesday. You guys are seeing this on Wednesday, so that means that tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the first day, is Chiefs football. Chiefs and Lions teeing off in Arrowhead Stadium for the banner night. The Chiefs dropping their new Super Bowl banner. We've got plenty to talk about. That stuff that isn't even related to the field. We've got to talk about today. Starting first and foremost with probably the biggest piece of news going into this game, that was just breaking today, that the Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce ended up hyperextending his knee in practice. Reports are, as opposed to per the MRIs and whatnot, that it's not going to be a long-term injury. Just probably a hyperextension. His status for Thursday is doubtful. So that's, it's better safe than sorry. You don't want to rush him back and potentially have lingering issues, but it does suck to not have 87 out there, potentially, probably for week 1 in Arrowhead with the Lions. How first initial reactions, Tom, how did you kind of feel hearing this news, and what do you think it means for the Chiefs?
Oh, man. I was stressed. I told you guys before the podcast, I've not been that glued to Twitter and that like what the hell is going on since the Tyreek Hill trade news started to break. First and very foremost, like the news that it is not the dreaded ACL tear or a meniscus tear or something that was going to knock Trav out for the whole season was the biggest relief. Like you said, it sucks that he's not going to be there, very likely, or even if he is, he's in a very limited capacity. But it's week 1. It's a long season. At the end of the day, what matters is he going to be there for the playoffs? Is he, prolific playoffs that he, performances that he puts on. We've talked before about how he's closing in on some receiving records that aren't even tight end records or wide receiver. His name is being mentioned with playoff, records and the company of Jerry Rice and people like that. So, I just super glad that he's going to get to play this season, and it kind of gives you that perspective a little bit. Definitely not ideal. It seems like there's been a lot of negative news towards it, with the Chiefs lately. But let's get it out of the way early and then be rolling once, November, December, January hits, hopefully. So that was my take on it.
Yeah. Tough that this happened, 2 days before the game. Could have happened like a random Tuesday in training camp and he just misses like a preseason game. But Randy, are the Chiefs completely screwed without Kelce? What are your thoughts about the whole thing?
I mean, you don't want to say completely screwed, no. But it sucks. I mean, Pat runs through Travis. Like he's the catalyst. He's the go-to. If anything breaks down, you look for 87. So are we screwed? No, I don't think we're screwed. I mean, we have Pat, so we're never out of it. I do think if there is a silver lining that you can look at if Trav doesn't play this game, I mean, I'm a Noah Gray fan. I mean, Noah Gray can do a lot of things that Travis does. Does he do them as well as Travis? No, he does not.
I mean,
But
nobody does.
Nobody does. Travis is the dude's phenomenal. But Noah's got a similar body build. He's got a similar receiving skill set. He's versatile. You can line him up out wide. You can attach him. You can put him in the backfield. So schematically, I don't think it changes a lot from the offensive playbook. It's just a downgrade in personnel is what it is. I mean, it sucks. Ain't gonna lie. I mean, anytime you have one of your dudes ding a knee, especially this early in the season, I bubble wrap him, put him in an ice tub, put him in a room, lock the door, don't let anybody have access to him. Like, just let the dude heal up.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I mean, you would want to. Back in the day, you could say, it's just the Lions. We probably don't need him against the Lions, but these aren't
the same old Lions.
These aren't yesterday's Lions. I am a big fan of Dan Campbell and what he's done with that franchise and the mentality that kind of
love Dan Campbell
that they play with.
He's a dog.
So it's absolutely. I mean, do I want to meet Dan Campbell in a dark alley? No.
No. Yeah,
it's a beast. But I think in the long run we'll be fine. Downgrading personnel, but I think Noah can come in and do a lot of really nice things that doesn't necessarily change our scheme, our playbook going into the game. So
yeah, I mean, this is the exact reason that the Chiefs drafted Noah Gray. Like you said, similar body types, kind of similar play style. He is your Travis Kelce insurance in case something like this happens, where you can kind of fit him right in and run the same looks, have the same kind of idea of what that kind of tight end looks like. Going against the Lions, it's not like it's a walk in the park opponent. So it's they have a pretty serious defense, and it's just going to be it's going to be interesting. It's just going to have to really change the game plan a little bit, especially with all the new faces that we've seen on offense this year. You really would like to have that that kind of cushion, that safety blanket for Mahomes in case things start to break down.
Yeah.
But it's really just going to end up we're going to have to see a lot more of the younger guys. And we have the Chiefs kept 7 receivers this year, and I think all of them are probably going to be active. And they're said they have packages for Ross, they have packages for Rice. I think we're going to have to see a lot of tricks from the Chiefs. A
lot of movement on and off that field.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to have to get these young guys going and just get the defense confused, because without Kelce, that's like they're going to have some room to spread it around, and
it's going to be interesting to see those kids in. Revolving door, fresh legs running around out there. It's going to be
exactly. So I think they're probably going to end up having to have a more diverse game plan they might have thought that they'd have. Week 1, just kind of keep it semi-vanilla, just go out there, have a good game. And now they're going to probably have to pull out some tricks. But, like I said, we have Pat still. It's not the end of the world. And the best thing is that Kelce is going to be healthy for the rest of the season, hopefully, and we avoided something long-term to help us, because he's pretty crucial. We're going to need him. We're going to need him soon.
And it's a credit. I mean, it's not the ACL with the initial tests. Hyperextend your knee. It's going to feel a little loose. It's going to feel a little wobbly that first day. Let that inflammation calm down. Get it in the ice tub.
Yeah, a lot of swelling.
It could feel great tomorrow. You just never know. So fingers crossed. But if I'm
Cinco said it could happen.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm not going to rush him back. But if he's feeling good tomorrow, roll with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to we talk about Noah Gray, and I've said this, and there's been a couple other people who have said this during the offseason. Noah Gray took a pretty big step forward last year, very quietly. I think there's probably a dozen NFL teams that would take Noah Gray today as their starter at tight end. So is it a downgrade? Yes, but you're going from what is essentially what is a Hall of Fame, one of a kind, probably the best to ever do it, definitively the best to ever do it. And we can argue that in another episode, but to a guy who is a starter quality. And I think a lot of that, just to give a nod to Brett Veach, who got Noah Gray in the 5th round, but also Noah Gray's been around. And if I don't know if you guys have, if you watch the clips, this man has taken to being Travis Kelce's understudy, and he's taking that job very seriously. He is glued to his hip. And, you could tell that they've developed a rapport over time. And when there was a clip today that came out of Noah talking about the injury and of Travis, and you can just tell like there's definitely a lot of respect and rightfully so that Noah has for Travis, but just that opportunity to learn from him. I think that he has taken that. And that's hard for young athletes to do sometimes. That you come into that position and you're like, oh, I'm good and this guy's old and whatever, but it's I've been impressed with that, with Noah Gray's development and his ability. And then also I think it's interesting because it's just, it's been in relation to other things this year, but this idea of this mentality of next man up that Andy Reid keeps preaching. And now you lose probably your second most important piece on this team as a whole. Next man up. Does that apply to him too? Like, is that really, and Randy, I think you'll know, there's coach talk, right? And then there's like, the actual hard truth. But at the same time, there's a line of, do you believe what you're saying to your players? And so
sure.
I think one of the benefits that Andy has is he speaks with conviction. And so it's next man up, and that's going to be Noah Gray, and we're going to use him to the best of his abilities. And so I think it puts him in an interesting position. I also think Andy's a little bit fed up with all the off field stuff and is ready to play.
He cannot wait to get on a field and just start calling plays, man. Jeez Louise.
Which may not be good news for those Lions as much as they,
Yeah, I think we're going to see some special stuff. I think
and if Trav can't play, you watch the sidelines. Travis is going to be right next to Noah Gray every single second that he's not on the field. He's going to be there with Pat and Noah, getting them on the same page, telling him what to look for, how to react, how to do the things. You'll see the mentor side of Travis with Noah during that game if he can't play in a completely different level than we've seen before. So.
Yeah, I still have a lot of confidence in the offense running without Kelce. We've seen, a lot of young guys stepping up so far, preseason training camp. Definitely just worrisome, especially with the other couple injuries that are potentially, that have been going on. Kadarius Toney and L'Jarius Sneed, two other most significant injuries of the offseason. Both slated to go. Brett Veach and Andy Reid and everybody said that. So they're slated to be good to go, which is really very crucial, especially having Kadarius Toney back for that offense. They're getting just another electric playmaker that can do a lot after the catch, which is something that Kelce's always very good at. Lions defense, it's formidable for sure. It's a young defense though. That's the biggest thing. And with a lot of young guys, I mean, it's a recipe for probably a shootout. I wouldn't be surprised if this might be a little bit of a shootout of a game. I can definitely see the Chiefs offense really lighting it up and just kind of unloading the playbook a little bit, kind of just reassuring everybody, especially with all the dumb drama. I mean, I wouldn't surprise me if Andy Reid just went out there and just gave a couple more snow globe plays and stuff like that to really just take all the attention off of all the BS from the offseason and look at the fun offense that we got here. Remember the fun offense that just won the Super Bowl? Here we are once again.
Did you guys see the West Virginia Mountaineers pulled out the snow globe play?
I did see that. Yeah.
Oh, I did not see that.
You didn't see that, Tom? Yeah, they did the snow globe. I think that it worked too. They used it for a 2-point conversion. They ended up still losing to Penn State and didn't cover the spread. So tough scene, but you can see. I think everybody's ready to see the Andy Reid masterclass back and work on offense. Hopping over to defense, the biggest story of the offseason, Chris Jones, still not here, and that's about all we're going to say about it because he is not in the building. He is not going to be playing this game, and there's a lot of guys that are going to be playing this game that have a real solid opportunity to step up here. I think Tershawn Wharton is going to be slated to get the start alongside Derek Nottie at defensive tackle if all that kind of pans out. We've got some young guys in that defensive tackle room and just the whole D-line in general. We've talked ad nauseum about how Spags just runs whatever D-lineman he wants, wherever he wants to put him, they're going to rush him. So a lot of young guys, King Felix, we got George out there still, Mike Dana. This defensive line isn't a slouch. Let's not get that confused. No. But they're definitely missing a big piece in the middle. But we're going to see, especially with that Lions offensive line, who's taken a step forward, especially under Dan Campbell, and the young guy on there in the backfield, Jahmyr Gibbs. Jared Goff obviously is no stranger to shootouts versus the Chiefs. So the D line is going to be the spot to look for, I think,
Right.
this game, where we're going to really have to see some guys step up in big ways.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the young kids like Farrell and Coburn. What are they going to do? I mean, those are two stout dudes in the middle. They're not going to push the pocket like Chris does, because no one does that quite like Chris. But I think with the big bodies that we'll throw in the middle between Noddy and Coburn and Farrell, Wharton's not necessarily as big or as stout against the run as those dudes, but that's just it's gonna be fun to watch those guys, plug up the interior offensive linemen, and we're gonna watch our edges, kind of run wild. We got a lot of guys to rotate in there now with a lot of different abilities from speed to power. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see. Granted, do I want to see Chris in there? Absolutely. Everybody does. But again, next man up. Excited to see what the young kids do, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, and you can't replicate or replace what Chris Jones offers as a player necessarily, at least on a one-to-one basis. But I think that if the two guys in the middle who are getting those starts can be assignment sound and control their gaps and do that. Thankfully, I mean, Steve Spagnuolo, not his first rodeo. He knows how to adjust. And the other thing that he's going to do is he's going to get pressure one way or another. If he has to send the punter in there to blitz you from the safety position, he'll do it. He's going to find some way to get pressure. He'll get creative with it. In some ways, it's is this going to give him some of that, well, might as well try it like mentality. I think the Lions' offensive line is definitely no slouch. It could be a long day for those younger guys up front. Really want to see how George Karlaftis does. I think Felix is going to get some more snaps than what maybe the team wants him to at this early on. But, not just Chris being gone, but also obviously Manny Hughes dealing with the suspension. So they're really down two starters, which could be rough. It might be a rough day for the defensive end group. But
yeah, like I said, it might be a little bit of a shootout. I mean, especially going against a veteran quarterback like Jared Goff, who can get the ball out very quick. The offensive line will stand their ground. We're gonna have to rely. It's gonna be Steve Spagnuolo is definitely gonna have to dig in his bag a little bit. Get Leo Chanel maybe out there rushing the passer. Willie Gay. I know a couple of those guys were experimenting at pass rush this preseason, whatnot. But I think the biggest kind of focus then will end up being the defensive backs, the young defensive backs that we got here. Trent McDuffie obviously full and ready, good to go. And then having L'Jarius Sneed back there. You got Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, all the other young guys in the DB room. That's going to be a matchup to watch. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a very talented USC wide receiver, might I add. Have to get the USC shout out in there, but they've got some weapons, and like Jahmyr Gibbs, they're going to probably run out the backfield a lot. So we're going to see Willie out there probably having a significant impact. Drew Tranquill will probably be a big contributor. But yeah, the back seven is going to have to really step up and kind of hold their ground versus a very young, explosive, and veteran Lions offense.
They're going to have to definitely bring those reinforcements. And
for sure,
I look at the Lions depth chart. I'm not super worried about the receiver room, but I think there's some good matchups there. But yeah, I think we all know, games are won and lost in the trenches, and I can't say I'm not nervous about how the D line matches up with the Lions O line. It's pretty stout. Now, always room to be surprised and hope so it works out, but they're probably going to have to modify some things and give those guys up front some extra reinforcements to at least get some of the adjustments and some of the stuff going. I don't think you're going to win. I don't think there's a lot of matchups that the Chiefs are going to win up front and just in the phone booths per se.
Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued. You guys touched on some of the things here, but I'm looking at our linebackers to where we're carrying 6 this year. We usually don't do that. I would not be shocked in any stretch to see us change into some odd fronts. Maybe get a little bit more a 3-4 look and get some of those extra linebackers in there, like Willie and Leo and Drew that can essentially rush the passer pretty well, coming from different spots. So I'm excited to see Spags maybe get a little creative with the defensive front, adding some different linebackers in there and bringing guys from all over the place. I mean, we all know he loves to bring pressure. Watching what he does with Snead on a regular basis last year, and then the new kids like Connor, watching him season coming out of the slot, doing a lot of blitzing stuff. So I think there's some potential there to cause some different matchup issues, blitzing from different areas, and that there may be a different reason why we're carrying 6 linebackers compared to previous stats.
Yeah.
And some different fronts and some different looks for people. So
yeah, Kyle actually last episode was talking about that a lot, about how the Chiefs have built this, on paper, the defensive roster looks a lot different than it has in years past. And,
Sure.
Spags is traditionally a 4-3 guy, but, with the personnel and kind of what we've been seeing, especially with the linebackers rushing the passer this offseason and all these different looks, like there's a chance that we can kind of see more of a 3-4 look this year, especially early on with, not having Chris and Charles Omenihu. Maybe we see like a Danny Shelton activation from the practice squad. We might see a couple, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of dial it up. You got Malik Herring back there. You got a couple young guys that can just kind of play wherever you need them to. Yeah, definitely just looking forward to seeing what Spags pulls out because, with L'Jarius hopefully pretty healthy, you got Jamari Connor, Brian Cook, they used a lot in that and down by the line. And then, just the matchup between Trent McDuffie and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that's going to be a big test for Trent. Obviously, we've seen him go up against some of the best. He had a pretty good preseason, so that's going to be an exciting one to watch. One matchup that we didn't really talk about that we'll hop back over to, the offensive line for the Chiefs. Obviously, that was kind of, if you really gauge the media world, it seems like that's the most area of concern so far for the Chiefs this offseason because of the 2 new tackles. The Lions have a pretty good defensive line. Obviously, they have Aiden Hutchinson out there. We got 2 new offensive tackles in Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor. What do you think we're going to see out there? I know some people are calling this the best, on paper offensive line that Patrick Mahomes has ever even had. But it's going to be a good starter test to see what they do against Aiden Hutchinson and the boys.
I think it's just been, I'll go on record and saying I was probably the most worried about it as it was taking shape. And honestly, watching them in preseason, you're replacing 2 tackles, and that's tough on that line. But you wouldn't know that by looking at it. They've been it's been a smooth transition. That interior holds up as well as any, guard to guard, any, find me another team in the NFL that has as much talent. And then the tackles, I still struggle with Donovan Smith a little bit, but he's a veteran. He comes in, Jawan Taylor's a little bit of a younger guy, but lots of athleticism. I'm excited to see both those guys because they are an upgrade in terms of the overall athleticism, to see how they can be used on screens and some of those creative plays that we're talking about. I think a lot more so than Wiley and Brown could last year. So, it has. I probably, I think a couple months ago, if you'd asked me if I felt this good about it, I wouldn't have been. But just watching how seamlessly they've come together, I feel pretty good about it, about the matchup. Even against some really, some studs like Aiden Hutchinson is a stud, defensive player. But I feel about as good about that matchup as I can.
Yeah, and I was not a fan of the Orlando Brown trade for us at all from day one. I think he's got terrible slow feet. Always has. Can't readjust. Can't plant. Can't move. He's a big body. I'm not saying he's awful by any stretch of the imagination, but for what we gave up for him and what we got, I was never a fan. But I'll take our 2 guys right now, absolutely, without question. Jawan Taylor, super athletic. He can play either side. I think getting Donovan the way we got him on a cheap prove it. If he can show even a glimmer of what he had done in the past, like he's a solid tackle. And so far in the preseason, he looks like he's solidified that spot. He's going to come and he's going to do a good job. And some of the guys that we have lined up behind them too. Like we got some backups that can play football as well. I'm not concerned about our offensive line. I do think this is probably the best offensive line that Pat's had from tackle to tackle. But like you said too, Tom, find 3 interior offensive linemen that are better than our 3. I mean, that's tough. So
that's real.
We have a solid group up front. If Donovan can give us a solid, it doesn't have to be a Pro Bowl, all pro level. If he can give us a solid year, Juwan just give Pat a little bit of time. He'll do his job. So I'm not concerned about the offensive line at all. I was actually happy to see Brown go. So that's just me though. I was never a big fan of that move and that player to begin with. So, but I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to rock with the crew we have for sure.
Yeah, I think it's shaping out to be pretty good. Like I said, the best interior line of football. That's for sure. Which also, might be the reason why they're not giving a certain somebody as much money as he potentially wants, because there's some other big contracts on the horizon on that.
We're gonna have to pay Trey and Creed here coming up next year.
Exactly. Yeah, and those are 2 very crucial guys to this offense's ability to be as good as they are. So definitely going to be excited to see them out in full force. The running game with Pacheco and McKinnon and Clyde back there. Obviously, we're going to see Pacheco for the first time in really some live action this since this offseason has begun.
I love watching that dude run.
So fun, yeah, absolutely electrifying player.
So cool ever.
And awesome. He's going to be absolutely juiced up getting back out there in front of Arrowhead. There's going to be no lack of energy there, especially with the chip. I mean, I think the whole offense is going to kind of have a little chip on their shoulder with not having Kelce out there. So it's going to be good to see. It's going to be good to see the fire. It's going to be good to see the fans out there really supporting them. Arrowhead, I guarantee, is going to be packed. It's going to be
football is back.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, I really wish I could have gone to this game because this would have been a great game to go to.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, one more phase of the game that we haven't talked about. Obviously, football is a 3-phase game. We got special teams as well. Biggest thing I'd like to talk is Richie James, because he has unequivocally won the starting returner job, and that kind of, it's interesting to see how that'll play in with what they do with him on offense. But definitely a solid guy back there that you can rely upon. And then on the other side of it, with we talked about the linebackers. That were the extra linebackers they've kept this year. Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson, according to Dave Tobe, are going to be the starting gunners. Special teams, I think, is going to be a good thing to watch this year on both sides of the punts. Randy, what do you kind of think of what we're going to see out of Dave Tobe, especially in this introduction game?
Yeah, he's one of the best in the biz, and he has been for a very, very long time. And he's got a very specific skill set that he looks at, in a few of those positions, especially those gunners, having young, long, athletic, fast dudes like that Watson and Wilson. I think they're kind of tailor made for what he looks for in gunners. We got the hammer, Tommy. Like, he's coming back. He's an all-pro punter. I love our special teams. Bucker's one of the best in the biz. Back in my coaching days, I always worked with long snappers as well. So those guys have special places in my heart. So Winchester, he's an unsung hero. You never, ever, 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 ever want to see your long snapper's name in the paper for any reason whatsoever. It's a thankless job. You only see your name in the paper if you do something wrong. So we never hear about Mr. Winchester, and that's fine with me. He's doing his job. He's fantastic. And I think Richie James really does kind of solidify that punt returner spot that was a revolving door that just gave me goosebumps sometimes when you'd see guys go out there. You're just like, hold your breath.
Yeah.
Okay, he secured the punt. He's down. We have the ball. Offense, go back out. It was scary sometimes. Like,
it was getting pretty scary last year.
That's not a good feeling to have. And some of those guys, it's not their fault. It's stuff they've never done in the past, but it's something. It's a skill set, like judging that ball, seeing the rotation, have it come down to that angle, being able to secure it with a dude right in your face a lot. That's no joke. That's hard. So to have a guy like Richie that can consistently do that on a high level, kind of take some of those panic moments out of my watching a football game. It might keep my longevity in my lifeline just a little bit longer from not having to freak out about those instances. But and then you're going to see guys like Prince Prince back there returning kicks too. So I'm excited to see, kind of the whole package come into play. So special teams, I think we have a solid group across the board. We got a ton of athletic dudes from the linebackers and corners that can go out there and cover and tackle people. So Tom's got a group. Coach has got a group going. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it's especially the Richie James part. Having a guy who can kind of specialize in that returner role. Where last year Sky Moore was trying to learn the offense as a receiver and then take on those duties, and he hadn't really done a whole lot of it. We had Tony for a little bit, but he was also learning the playbook and then dealt with injury issues. And I think having a guy and let's not Richie's got some juice to him, so he's got lots of skill. I think we'll see a return to one of those top units in the NFL, especially in the return game. I promise you, it drove Dave Tobe nuts to have as much inconsistency as they did last year on those punt returns and just on the return game in general. So I think we're going to look a lot more clean this year on special teams.
Yeah. That wasn't the best. That wasn't the most fun experience last year. And like Tom said, it's good to have a veteran guy like Richie who can really just sit down and really focus on return duties. He's going to be in the offense, yeah, but with so many guys back there, I mean, he's not gonna. He can really just kind of focus on the return duties and contribute a lot in that way, and then kind of just be the reserve guy on offense that can go in there and run around as kind of a decoy or whatnot. Yeah, I think the special teams is going to be a highlight this year for sure. So, with that being said, is there anything else that we haven't covered yet before we get to this final segment of the show, boys? I think we did a pretty good job. Yeah, I think we covered most of the bases.
I think we covered all three spots, and it's going to be a fantastic matchup. I'm excited to get this season up and running.
Yeah, excited to see the Super Bowl banner drop. Excited to see the fans out there really having a good time. Arrowhead's going to be rocking Thursday night primetime football. It is time for the first score prediction of the season here. Randy, being our guest, I'll let you go after Tom. So Tom, okay. That really threw him for a curveball there. Tom,
I got all excited for a second.
Yeah, exactly. Tom, score prediction here for the first game of the season: Chiefs versus Lions.
Can I say Chiefs by 100? Is it allowed?
Be crazy.
No, 81-0. We're going Oregon and
Portland State.
Yeah. No, I think it's gonna be a really fun game. I think they're going to stress us out to be closer than we want it to be all game, and then we'll pull away at the end. I think it's going to have to take complete, all three phases like we've covered. I'm going to go 35-21 Kansas City. 35-24 Kansas City. We'll give them an extra field goal.
Oh, what a generous. That extra field goal really helped them out, I think.
They still your prediction, Randy?
Almost. I was in my head. I'm like, we're going to win by 10. I was going 34-24. I think Detroit's going to have enough firepower. They got enough to hang tough. I think their defense is scrappy. That's going to give us some problems at times. But I think in the end, Pat and the boys are just a little bit too much to handle. It could be a 3-point game halfway through the fourth quarter. It really could be. But I think we tack on another touchdown late. We win by 10. So yeah, I mean, we're almost identical there, Tom. I'm 34-24.
Yeah, I like that thought. I do like that thought a lot. If this game were to be played like week 9, I think the outcome would look a lot different. Just because of having a couple other guys on the defense.
I'd say more like a 38-17 type scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Spagnuolo usually always kind of really dials it up after October. That's when the Steve Spagnuolo defense really hits. I think, Patrick Mahomes is one of the best NFL players ever in the month of September. We've seen absolutely dominant performances pretty much every week one that he's been the starter. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think we're going to see a lot of points scored. Might see just a couple young mental errors from some of the young guys on the defense there. I think I'm going to lean 34-27 Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will end up winning by about a touchdown or whatever that adds up to. I think it'll be a close one going into the fourth quarter. I think they'll definitely it won't be like the Cardinals game last year, week 1, where it was about over by halftime and it was like 44-17. It's gonna be a formidable game. It's definitely gonna take us down to the fourth quarter, but yeah, I can see the Chiefs are definitely a better team at finishing out a game than the Lions might be. I think that's going to end up being a big difference maker going into that fourth quarter and minimizing mistakes, which we see a lot versus the Chiefs. So
yeah, I say Coach Campbell's guys, those the Lions, they're going to be scrappy, they're going to be gritty. Watching them from Hard Knocks and stuff last year, grit is their kind of their thing, and they're going to be some hard-nosed dudes. They're going to play hard. They're going to stick around. I just don't want to see us, get up early and then coast. That drives me nuts. If we do get up early, you got to put your foot on the throat and stomp and snuff it out. But I think the Detroit's they're going to be good enough to hang around, and they're scrappy enough to do it. So it's going to be a good football game. I think it's going to be a fantastic way to kick off the NFL season. It's going to be a great game and a great atmosphere. Arrowhead's going to be stupid crazy. I wish I could be down for that game. I will make it down for one game this year, but it won't be the home opener.
Yeah, I need to get down there.
I'll be down there for the Bears game, so it's going to be fun. But yeah, Chiefs by 10. Let's get this season started 1-0, and we'll move on to the next one.
Yep, let us get this season started. So that is the end. Thank you all so much for tuning into this one. Be sure, obviously, everyone will be tuned in on Thursday. Be sure to pack the stadium, pack the tailgates, pack the parking lots, pack the bars. Just, get in a good mood because we got Chiefs football very, very soon to kick off this NFL season. It's going to be a good time. This is going to be a good year, I think. And, life's always better with Chiefs football in it. So let's
finish winning the Super Bowl at the Raiders' house.
Exactly. That would be a cherry on top right there. So really appreciate my two friends here, Arrowhead Tom and Randy, coming on. Be sure to follow us all. All of our ats are right here on the screen. If you're only watching or if you're only listening to this, you should go ahead and go over to our YouTube channel and watch us on YouTube. Kingdom Says Podcast on YouTube. We've also got a new Kingdom Recon episode dropping here very shortly, which is going to be a good time. So be sure to follow us on YouTube. Go give us a like, us follow us, subscribe, all that good stuff. Otherwise, find us on your podcast platforms that you like, Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. Follow us on our social medias at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, X, and Instagram. I'm gonna have to change that logo because it seems like we're staying with X. It seems it's very unfortunate, but
always gonna be Twitter in my heart.
It's always gonna be. Come on, I will call it a tweet to the day I die, no matter what it says. So
what do you call it now that it's X? Is it not
a Zeet?
I don't think that's what you call it.
I've never asked myself, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's a question everyone has to ask themselves. What do you call it? So ponder on that one. We will see you guys next week on a next episode of The Kingdom Says.